Okay. Hi, everyone, and a very good afternoon. Thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is Tina Chandra, and I'm the marketing manager for 79 Consulting. I handle core marketing activities such as increasing brand awareness, promotional campaigns, developing collateral, and lead generation. Today, we'll be covering a few interesting topics from the 2021.1 release. Our team has narrowed down a few noteworthy features from this release over three main areas of NetSuite: platform, Suite Cloud or Suite Scripting, and Suite Commerce. For further information on specific topics, please review the release notes available in Suite Answers or reach out to us for any additional assistance you may have. A quick note to our audience: please post any questions that may come up during our session in the chat box. We have team members who will address them as we go. Okay, now that I've introduced myself, let me give you a quick overview of our company. 79 Consulting is the global face to its sister company, Twarna. Our name is derived from the atomic number of gold, which is 79, and we would like to consider ourselves as being the gold standard in cloud services. We started out consulting in NetSuite and Salesforce in 2007, but have since evolved to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. We also have designed and built solutions for the NetSuite platform with the intent of extending its functionalities. Our suite apps cover a wide range of industries and address every business need, and you can find them on suiteapp.com under the search term Twarna. Let's start with introducing our panel for today, who have over 30 years of cumulative NetSuite experience. Eric Holzer is a senior NetSuite architect who comes to us with over 9 years of experience on NetSuite, primarily focused on manufacturing and inventory distribution environments. Next is Uday Chand, who is 79 Consulting's project manager with over 15 years of experience in software development, and he leads our scripting practice. And then we have Dee Elliott, who's our Suite Commerce consultant. Dee has been working with Suite Commerce Advanced since 2015. She's experienced in implementing SCA and in building, maintaining, and updating client websites, products, and marketing data. Now, without any further ado, let's jump right in as we have a lot to cover today. Eric is going to start with the first section of our webinar. Eric, what is the purpose of these releases in NetSuite, and how can our audience prepare for them?
Hey, thank you, Tina. Yes, these major releases that NetSuite does is something that occurs twice a year. The release we're talking about today is 2021.1. NetSuite rolls out major updates to its platform. These updates are called releases, and they affect the entire customer base. NetSuite uses releases to introduce new features, enhancements, and to deprecate legacy features. All this means that aspects of your NetSuite account could change significantly with a new release, and you should be prepared for the changes before they're released. So there is an upgrade schedule, and NetSuite uses batches to roll out the upgrades. The release window can last for over a month. You can find your planned upgrade date from the new release portlet on your homepage. Right there, very nice. If you don't see the new release portlet on your homepage, you can add it by clicking on the Personalize dropdown and selecting the new release option.
Question about these releases. Is it possible for me or my company to opt out of a new release?
That's a great question, Tina. You can only opt out of a new release if you are on a dedicated NetSuite server, which is typically placed for very large enterprise customers.
Great, thanks for answering.
You're welcome. So NetSuite also provides what is called a release preview account. This release preview account is a copy of your production account on the soon-to-be released version. This is a free account that customers can use to test their business flows and customizations before the next release. You need to opt in to be granted a new release preview account. So if you're an administrator, confirm it by going to Setup, Company, Release Preview on your production account, and by clicking the Register Request Release Preview button, the opt-in window for 2021.1 it will be currently open.
So when will the release preview be available, Eric?
Well, it varies according to your account's upgrade date, but you can see the release preview account's availability for your specific account on the new release portlet. So there's a few things to note about the release preview account. First, it may be slower than the production account since it runs on different servers and hardware. Not everything is copied over from production. It is like the Sandbox account where everything that runs directly in NetSuite works, but external facing functionality might require reconfiguration. If you have a Suite Commerce site, you will need to set up a new public domain to test the functionality. Scheduled scripts don't execute automatically in release preview accounts. You must run them manually. Email behavior is the same as your Sandbox, where all emails are sent to the logged in user. You can change this by going to Setup, Company, Email, and Email Preferences. Finally, credit card processing, alternative payment methods, and UPS, FedEx integrations only work in test mode, similar to the Sandbox environments. On this slide, where we're looking at it to cover is more around how to prepare for a new release. So it's important that you know what your upgrade date is and the availability of the release preview account. It's also important to be informed on what new features are coming in the new release and which ones could affect you. A good place to start is NetSuite's Sneak Peek, which is a page that lists the features, highlights of the new release broken down by industry and vertical. If there are features you would like to learn more about, you can read through NetSuite's full release notes, which are available well ahead of a new release. NetSuite also publishes a series of videos under the New Features Previews page on Suite Answers, which can be accessed by clicking on the Training Resources tile on the new release portlet.
Eric, how do we find new release notes?
Another great question. On the new release portlet, at the bottom, there is a link to a PDF file that you can download, or as always, you can find the PDF in Suite Answers.
Thanks, Eric.
You're welcome. So the next thing to do is to prepare a testing plan. The aim here should be to have your NetSuite users test your key business flows and customizations to ensure that they are working as expected. We recommend you test the following areas as a starting point at least: business workflows, custom reports, queries, and forms, all Suite scripts, any SOAP web services integrations, installed Suite apps or bundles. Your Suite Commerce site should be thoroughly reviewed. Any external integration should be reviewed for impacted data flows. So we will also be emailing a link to NetSuite's testing plan after this webinar.
What should I do if I find an issue?
Another really good question. In rare cases, there are some issues and/or bugs, but if you do find a bug, you must log a case with NetSuite support immediately. They will investigate it and set a date for resolution based on the severity of the bug. Now, if all of this sounds overwhelming, you're not alone. This is a major undertaking. We frequently get requests from clients for assistance on testing and training on new release features. We now offer release testing services where we will put together a testing plan, make comprehensive lists of areas to be tested, and introduce teams to features available in the new release. Testing is usually a collaborative effort between our team and the clients, but a testing plan once created can be reused to a large extent over and over.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Tina. Now let's start going through NetSuite's 2021.1 new features. Today we're going to begin with fixed assets. So fixed assets has undergone changes to both the user interface and some of the major scripts that manage the module. Along with a few visual changes to the forms, the My Reports page will no longer show failed reports, and many of the fixed asset specific fields that are abbreviated will now be fully spelled out in saved searches. The fixed asset Suite app is now compatible with Suite Script 2.1, which will ensure better and more consistent performance for customizations on the fixed asset module Suite app. The reports cleanup script is now available for manual execution or to be set to run on a schedule. Next, this is a very nice feature that I'm pretty excited about. It's called Invoice Groups, are replacing the Suite solution Consolidated Invoicing. This feature allows you to collect multiple invoices for a single customer and create a PDF that looks like a single transaction. This is very useful when you have multiple invoices in NetSuite throughout the month, but want to present a single PDF to your customer. The new features with this release are, you now have the ability to add a single invoice to an existing invoice group with the click of a button. And prior to 2021.1, the invoice group was limited to invoices created from a single sales order. That restriction is now removed. Okay. Next, we're going to go down to one of my favorite areas is Suite Analytics. Now, Suite Analytics is continuing to becoming more and more popular with each update. The 2020.1 release is no exception to this. With a list of enhancements and changes, we're highlighting some of the more exciting user-facing features today. First being calculated measures. Further enhancements to the popular pivot tables feature now allows for users to define calculations from existing measures and basic operators. Calculated measures are available in pivot tables and charts defined within the current data set on any given workbook, providing arithmetic operations with measures. Users are able to create as many calculated measures as needed within the fields available in the connected data set. For example, a user could calculate the gross profit percentage for a given data set by using a statement such as %profit, the wildcard, equals estimated gross profit summed divided by amount summed. The analytics browser allows the user to validate each calculated measure through the definition editor, which provides a validation message to the user based on the operators being used. There's a list of supported calculations stated in Suite Answers article ID 98196. Next, we have conditional formatting, a very popular feature for Save Search users out there. The Suite Analytics users can now apply conditional formatting to their workbook table view and pivot table results. Conditional formatting highlights results based on rules defined by the user, so they can quickly analyze their company's data. Depending on the condition set, users can apply conditional formatting to groups of results or individual results. Users can also define conditional formatting using any fields containing number or string values, including custom formula fields and calculated measures. Users are able to set parameters to apply different colors or highlighting in the results based on conditions set to a group or individual set of results. This allows the user to define conditions within the same pivot table or chart to highlight ranges within the defined results page range. For example, maybe you wanted to highlight a 20% gross profit, which is represented as 0.20 and highlight as red, 30% gross profit as yellow, and 50% gross profit as green. Currently, date formatted fields or calculated measure results are not currently supported. For more information, you can refer to Suite Answers article ID 98346. So this, out of the whole list, since I'm an inventory and warehousing person, the new pack station feature is by far my absolute favorite. This is a long time coming. The new pack station mobile app extends order fulfillment processing in your warehouse or in any location that uses a kiosk type device. It supports multi-level packing that lets you pack items into cartons and then transfer packed cartons onto pallets. The PackStation mobile app allows you to identify picked items that have the same shipping route and pack them at the same time, gain visibility into items and orders packed across multiple cartons or pallets throughout the packing process, print customizable carton labels, pallet labels, bill of lading, and packing lists from a kiosk device. You can also capture weights from an integrated weighing scale through your kiosk device. Now, the PackStation mobile app is shared with accounts that currently use the Oracle NetSuite WMS Suite app, but the PackStation mobile app requires at least the installation of NetSuite's SCM, Supply Chain Management Mobile Suite app, but is not restricted to only WMS users alone. Okay. Now we're going to get into another really important topic when it comes to new releases, which are deprecations. Okay. Deprecations are often overlooked in releases, but they can have a negative impact if not planned for. So let's briefly cover the platform deprecations that could impact your user group. Number one, reconcile bank statement and reconcile credit card statement pages. This has already been deprecated, but the pages have not been removed. Even though NetSuite has not published a removal date, they are recommending you convert to a new process as these pages will be removed in the near future. Some advance notice and a support for some browsers. For the next release, 2021.2, NetSuite will no longer support Internet Explorer 11, Microsoft Edge, or Safari versions prior to 13.1. If you're using any of these browsers, please convert to a supported browser now. Third, we have end of support for reset button on standard form pages. Some records and forms had the option of a click reset button to return the form or record to its last saved or original format. You would need to now use the browser refresh to reload the form or transaction. And lastly, the deprecation of NetSuite inbound single sign-on feature. This is fully deprecated as this release. You will need to switch to OpenID Connect SSO or SAML SSO. You can review our blog on new release 2021.1 for some additional details on what is coming.
All right, thanks everyone for answering. Uday, our scripting practice lead, is going to take over now and talk about some of the highlights for Suite Scripts, Suite Talk, and Suite Cloud. Over to you, Uday.
Thank you, Tina. Hello, everyone. Let's get started with the next section of this webinar, which covers the Suite Script and other technical components of NetSuite. Keeping in mind the limited time we have, I'll try to cover only the key changes to Suite Script and Suite Talk services as part of my presentation. The first new feature that we're going to talk about is the secrets management. SuiteScript 2.x now provides the ability to store, access, and manage API secrets. Secrets management can be used to store passwords and keys, preventing the need for hard coding or including plain text secrets or passwords in scripts. This allows secure integration to third-party systems. Also, secret owners now have the ability to set criteria to limit access to a secret or allow access to a specific suite after this secret. To view and create API secrets, administrators and other users with appropriate permission can navigate to Setup, Company, Preferences, API Secrets. And we have a screenshot of the API Secrets screen here for your reference. I've also created a sample API secret for the purpose of this demo, as you can see in the screenshot. Moving on, the next feature that we're going to discuss is the SuiteScript 2.1 debugger. The debugger for SuiteScript 2.1 is now available, and programmers can use this to debug version 2.1 scripts. It supports on-demand debugging and debugging of scheduled scripts, Suitelets, and user event scripts. This feature was not available previously for 2.1 scripts. It was only available for 1.0 and 2.0 scripts. The debugger uses Chrome DevTools API and is designed for use with NetSuite in the Chrome browser. The other browsers have only a limited support to this debugger feature. For those of you unfamiliar with this feature, the debugger is primarily used by the developers for troubleshooting purposes. They can quickly verify the functionality of a block of code by using the debugger instead of creating and executing an entire script file. Apart from script debugging and verification of code functionality, we can also use the debugger to set values to certain fields in NetSuite for testing purposes. Now, for example, in the screenshot here, I was trying to set the external ID of a customer in NetSuite. And as you know, the external ID field cannot be updated directly from the NetSuite UI. However, using this block of code that you are seeing in the screenshot, using this block of code in the debugger, I was able to do it, as you can see on the right side of the screenshot. The navigation to debugger is customization, scripting, script debugger. The next important update in 2021.1 is changes to current record API method. As of 2021.1, if a script uses current record .get subrecord API to get a subrecord that does not exist, a new subrecord is created and returned by NetSuite. Previously, users had the ability to verify if a record had a subrecord or not using this API call. However, it is no longer possible to use this API call to verify the same. Alternatively, to verify if a record contains a subrecord, developers can use the current record dot has subrecord API method. Now here's a tip for all of you. Please review your existing scripts for the usage of this API call, the current record API call, and take necessary corrective action as needed. Depending on how this API was used in your scripts, you might have unnecessary records created in your account, or in some cases, a section of code that needs to be executed when a subrecord does not exist could fail to execute after the 2021.1 upgrade. The next key change to look at is the deprecation of RESTlet authentication through user credentials. User credentials authentication for newly created RESTlets is no longer supported. Any RESTlets created after 1st Jan 2021 with user credentials authentication will stop working after the account is upgraded to 2021.1. If anyone attempts to use user credentials to authenticate a new RESTlet after the NetSuite account is upgraded, an HTTP error response will be returned by NetSuite. Here's another tip. Please verify all your RESTlets for the usage of user credentials for authentication. If user credentials are being used for your RESTlet authentication, please switch to token-based authentication or use OAuth 2.0 as an alternative to avoid any issues with existing functionality of your RESTlets once your NetSuite account is upgraded to 21.1. In addition to the features we talked about so far, 2021.1 also offers a new Suite App Info module, support for copying files, asynchronous server-side support, and a bunch of other new features and updates. Please visit our blog on 2021.1 release to understand some of these other features. Let us now talk about the key changes to Suite Talk Web Services in 2021.1. The first update that we're going to discuss is related to the record data retrieval. As of 2021.1, developers can use the get method to retrieve data from specific body fields of a record. The response from NetSuite contains only the fields specified in the request, and if no fields are specified in the request, then all the supported fields are returned in the response by NetSuite. Developers can selectively retrieve body fields along with some sublist and subrecord fields with this upgrade. So here's a screenshot that shows how selective retrieval of fields is going to work in 2021.1. As you can see in the request, I've specified only a couple of fields, company name and email, and those are the fields for which we are receiving the data as part of the response from NetSuite down below. The next interesting feature that we're going to talk about is the asynchronous request execution in REST web services. Users can now execute requests asynchronously in REST web services. The asynchronous execution of requests is very useful for long-running requests or jobs. But keep in mind, this is still a beta feature in 2021.1. When an asynchronous request is sent to REST web services, it is placed in a processing queue and will be processed asynchronously along with all the other requests. The client applications need not wait for a response and can check the status and result of the request at a later point using a job ID that is provided by the REST web services when the request was first submitted by the client application. For example, let us say a client is trying to retrieve a list of all the transactions for a full year or more from NetSuite. This could be time consuming, and the client application might have to wait for a long time and could even encounter a timeout issue waiting for the response. Instead, using the asynchronous option, the client application could submit the request and store the job ID returned by NetSuite for that particular request. And then the client application can go back at a later point and query the status of the submitted request using the job ID. The next change is related to available without login option. As of 2021.1, the default value for the available without login field when uploading images and website hosting files to file cabinet is set to false. For endpoints prior to 2021.1, the default value is still going to be true. So if you want a file that you uploaded to the file cabinet to be available without login, you must set the file.isOnline parameter to true. Or if you have the right permissions, you can go to the file in file cabinet and check the available without login checkbox option. Now, here's a screenshot of an example. This file record was created using web services, and as you can notice, the available without login checkbox is unchecked, which means it is set to false uh, as per and that's the expected behavior with 2021.1 upgrade. Let us now take a look at the updates to Suite Cloud Development Framework. For the benefit of the people who are not familiar with SDF, SDF is a development framework and deployment mechanism that can be used to create customization projects in NetSuite. One of the key enhancements to SDF that we are going to talk about is the new installation preferences configuration for script deployments in Suite app projects. Programmers can now configure the behavior they want to apply to fields customized in script deployments. They have the option to either preserve the fields and their values or override them with the updates from Suite app they belong to. They also have the ability to either overwrite or preserve the previously deployed scripts during the application updates. For example, if you have a Suite app that has 2 scripts installed in your account, as part of the next update to the Suite app, the application team can either choose to override these 2 scripts or preserve them. Now, apart from this, there have also been a bunch of minor updates to some custom objects as part of 2021.1. And finally, we have the Suite Cloud SDK. Suite Cloud Software Development Kit is a tool that can be used to develop SDF projects. These tools include Suite Cloud IDE plugins and command line interfaces, or CLI. The 2021.1 Suite Cloud CLI and IDE plugins for WebStorm and Eclipse will also be released by NetSuite. So that brings us to the end of my section. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Suite Commerce. Dee Elliott is going to be talking about updates to that area. Over to you, Dee.
Thank you, Tina. Hi, everyone. My section will be covering the enhancement highlights for commerce websites and website setup and what that means for its users. All right, let's start with the ability to enable all commerce products independently. NetSuite 2021.1 release includes the ability to enable all commerce products independently. So what does this mean for the user? Well, prior to this release, Site Builder was automatically enabled when the web store feature was checked on the Enable Features page. So this was required if you had Suite Commerce, Suite Commerce Advanced, Suite Commerce My Account, and Suite Commerce In-Store. Pre-release, you're able to see the navigation and options for Site Builder, whether you use Site Builder or not. So this caused some confusion for some, specifically for users who maintain their own sites without a developer or a partner. With this new feature, though, you only need to enable your commerce product and the feature that that applies to it. So Site Builder is no longer required, and in fact, it can now be cleared for users that don't need it. All right. In this screenshot here, you'll see, for example, at the very bottom, if you have Site Builder, now the features that you go in and enabled in NetSuite are just the website Site Builder, and then if you have a web store, the Site Builder web store. But if you have Suite Commerce, for example, you no longer have Site Builder enabled. You only need website, Suite Commerce, and so on with Suite Commerce Advanced. You see, you only need website, Suite Commerce Advanced, and no longer Site Builder. All right. The next feature applies to site management. So in the 2021.1 release, navigation is so much easier and less confusing for users. And this is because of Site Management's new top-level commerce tab. So what is this and what does it mean, right? This means features that were previously found under Setup, Site Builder, Setup, Suite Commerce Advanced, and in some cases, List, Website. They can now be found under the new Commerce tab, right? So here at the bottom right, you'll see previously, if you had Site Builder, you had to navigate to Setup, Site Builder. And this is where you're able to see your domains, you're able to see your redirects. If you wanted to change some website settings, you could do that here under Setup Website. But in the top left, that's now been moved in this release to Commerce, right? All right. Thank you. And these are records that are going to be like your commerce categories, your commerce catalogs, content types and pages, your domains. What else is here? Your hosting, your SSP applications, they can all now be found under that Commerce tab. And again, they were previously found under either Setup, Site Builder, Setup, Suite Commerce Advanced, and in some cases, List and Website. All right. Thank you. Some of you have heard me and throughout this and even in NetSuite terms use the word or the term SMT. And you may be asking, what is SMT? And how can it be beneficial to my company? So SMT stands for Site Management Tools, and it applies if you have Suite Commerce, Suite Commerce Advanced, and Suite Commerce My Account. This feature lets you perform several website management tasks, including managing your content, changing the overall page design and layout, create landing pages, enhance pages, assign items to categories, manage your commerce categories and subcategories, customize certain attributes of a page without needing to develop the code or modify existing files. And all of that is managed using the user interface on the website with easy to understand features like drag and drop options, as well as the ability to edit and remove existing content. And that feature makes maintaining the website content so much easier for developers or NetSuite users, again, who maintain their own websites. NetSuite release 2021.1 has 2 additional enhancements relating to language and translation that'll be a huge benefit to users with international customers or audiences. And those enhancements are exporting and importing bulk translation content and multi-language support for facets. So again, what does this mean? This means that you can now export content that requires translation on your web store. And once it's translated, you can then import that content back into SMT from the Translations tab in Overview mode. So this feature is available for CMS content types, CMS pages, but there are some prerequisites, okay? Multi-language must be set up and configured for your site and on the website record. Also, you must be using Suite Commerce Advanced 20.2 or later. And last, your account must be using SMT version 3. By default, Suite Commerce Kilimanjaro and greater use SMT version 3. And versions of Suite Commerce prior to Kilimanjaro use SMT version 2. Facets on the product list page are now also translated into multi-language site setup. So keep in mind, in order for this feature to reflect in your account, you must rebuild the search index after the release upgrade for it to take effect. And you can find that again under Commerce, Website, and Website Lists. The next feature is country specific payment method. And this allows users to restrict payment methods by the country of the shipping address. For example, you could restrict payment methods for a UK to Visa if you found that your UK customers showed a preference for it, for that payment method. At the same time, you could restrict American Express if the shipping country is the US. I think this feature could be a great resource for users who experience higher charges for certain payment methods or credit card types, as well as a way to cater to your customers who prefer a certain payment method, right? If you use personalized catalog views on Suite Commerce or Suite Commerce Advanced 2021.1 or later, access to customer segments via API methods and the ability to hide web store pricing from customer segments will be a great feature to take advantage of. These features, simply put, mean that you can now build extensions and customizations specific to a certain customer segment. For example, you may want only the customers who have a signed contract to be able to see pricing. So you can now display special pricing and themes based on the customer segment of the logged in user, or excuse me, that the logged in user belongs to. Or you could even disable purchases and hide pricing for members of a specific customer segment. Developers can now access customer segments using API methods, making it a lot easier to deliver a unique experience to a particular customer. So to configure item price visibility, use the website visibility level options. They're available in Customer Segment Manager. And you can navigate to this by going to Setup, Marketing, Customer Segment Manager. There we go. The enhanced merchandising zone in SMT or site management tools lets you display products that you'd like to cross-sell or upsell to customers. This functionality includes support for multiple languages. It's also compatible with Suite Commerce themes. The enhanced merchandising zone lets you present your products in a consistent way, but also gives you the choice to display products differently throughout your website to match your brand quality, right? With this enhanced merchandising zone, you're able to display products in a grid, a horizontal or vertical slider. You can include a heading to display in the merchandising zone and choose the number of products that you want to display there. All of these updates allow NetSuite users to get the most out of their modules and also to take advantage of some exciting ways to market and really connect with your customers. I think it'll be some good enhancements to take advantage of, specifically if you guys are not maintaining and managing your own websites. And that wraps it up for all my updates for Suite Commerce. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dee. We covered a lot today. I really hope our audience has found our content helpful. Thank you to everyone for joining us this afternoon and for taking time out of your day. As mentioned before, 79 Consulting specializes in offering 2021.1 release testing services to ensure that your transition is a smooth one. So if you need an expert QA team or any further information on the 2021.1 release, please feel free to contact any of our panel members. You should see our contacts up on the screen right now. And I hope to see you in our next session. Until then, goodbye.